You know what really gets under my skin after all these years on the bench? Parents who can't let go of their kids' breakups. Parents who stick their noses into relationship drama like they're starring in their own personal soap opera. And let me tell you, the case that walked into my courtroom that Tuesday afternoon was the perfect example of family drama gone completely, utterly sideways. Picture this scene: a father suing his daughter's ex-boyfriend. Now that's not unusual in my courtroom, right? I see it all the time. But wait, here's where it gets absolutely ridiculous. He's suing over a truck that he inherited from his dead father, never paid a single dime for, and then supposedly sold to this kid for $400 a month. $400 for a 12-year-old truck that had been sitting in a snow-covered garage collecting dust and probably mouse droppings. The moment they walked in, before anyone even opened their mouths, I could read the whole situation written across their faces like a billboard on the highway. Mark Hoover, the father, standing there with his chest puffed out, full of righteous indignation, acting like he's the victim of the century. His daughter beside him, arms folded tight across her chest, shooting death glares at her ex-boyfriend that could melt steel. And James Elkins, the ex-boyfriend, standing on the other side, looking like he'd rather be literally anywhere else on the planet, maybe on Mars, preferably in a different galaxy. Oh yes, this was going to be very interesting. Mr. Hoover, I said, my voice cutting through the thick tension in the room like a hot knife through butter. Let's get this straight from the beginning. This young man, James, used to date your daughter. They lived together, played house, did the whole domestic partnership thing, and now they're not together anymore. So far, am I right? Yes, Your Honor, that's absolutely correct. Mark's voice had that sharp edge to it, that tone that screamed, just wait until you hear what this punk did to my family. I'd heard that tone about 1,000 times before. It never ends well for the person using it. And you're here today because you want money from him. Two different things, actually. A title loan and a truck. Correct? Yes, Your Honor. This case has two very distinct parts, and I'd like to explain. I read the papers, Mr. Hoover. I know exactly what your case has. I interrupted sharply. I didn't get to where I am by needing people to read things to me like I'm in kindergarten. Let's deal with the title loan first, shall we? You should have seen Mark's face. He wasn't expecting me to flip the script on him right out of the gate. People always come in with their carefully prepared speeches, their practiced outrage, their rehearsed victim stories. They think they're going to control how this goes. Not in my courtroom, they don't. According to your complaint, I continued, tapping the papers in front of me, while your daughter and the defendant were living together, she owned a car. The car was registered in her name only. She took out a title loan on that car because they needed money. And later you paid off that loan. Now you want him to reimburse you for half of it. Do I have that story right? Well, Your Honor, not exactly. What's not exact about it? I challenged, leaning forward. Either that's what happened or it's not. Which is it? Mark actually puffed up his chest a little like he was about to deliver his winning argument. His name is actually the primary name on all the loan documents, Your Honor, not hers, his. Now that definitely got my attention. That changed everything. Is that so? I held out my hand expectantly. Well, Mr. Hoover, that's going to make a very big difference in how this plays out. Let me see these loan papers right now. He practically sprinted forward with his evidence, probably thinking he'd just played some kind of ace card that would win him the whole case. I took the documents and scanned them quickly, methodically. Sure enough, there it was, James's name, right at the top of the application. Primary borrower, crystal clear. I looked up at James, fixing him with my no-nonsense stare. What do you have to say for yourself, young man? He shifted his weight from foot to foot, clearly uncomfortable under my gaze. They wouldn't give her the loan without my name on it too, Your Honor. She didn't make enough money on her own to qualify. Exactly. I slapped the papers down on the bench with emphasis. That means you both took out this loan together. I don't care whose car it was. That's irrelevant. What I care about is what you did with the money. So tell me, what did you do with it? We paid bills, Your Honor. Rent, utilities, groceries, regular living expenses. Bills from when you two were living together as a couple? Yes, ma'am. Shared expenses? Things you both needed and both benefited from? Yes, ma'am, that's correct. I sat back and delivered my verdict on this part with absolute certainty. Then it's your legal responsibility, both of your responsibilities, to pay for this loan. You signed your name on those papers, Mr. Elkins. You pledged your credit. You agreed to be responsible for this debt. That's not a suggestion. That's not optional. That's a binding legal obligation. I turned my attention to Mark. How much money did you pay to settle this title loan in full? $2,000 total, Your Honor. So his half would be exactly $1,000. Perfect. Settled. I pointed directly at James. You owe this man $1,000. You signed for it. You pay for it. That's how life works, kid. When you put your signature on something, you own the consequences. Good times and bad times. Together and broken up. That's the deal you made, and that's the deal you're going to honor. Mark's face absolutely lit up like a Christmas tree. He actually smiled, a big satisfied grin. Finally, he was winning something. Finally, someone in authority was holding this punk kid accountable for something. But I wasn't done. Not even close. Not by a long shot. Now, I said, and I let that single word hang in the air for a long, pregnant moment. Let's talk about this truck situation. And just like that, like someone flipped a switch, the smile completely fell off Mark's face and crashed to the floor. See, here's what people don't understand about being a judge. It's not about picking sides or making people happy. It's about examining the facts, all the facts, and making the fair call, even when that fair call makes everybody mad. The title loan was simple, black and white, signatures on official paper, clear legal obligations, money owed and money paid, done and done, easy call. But this truck? Oh, this truck was where the real story lived. This truck was where all the messy family drama, all the hurt feelings, all the revenge fantasies came bubbling up to the surface like toxic swamp gas. Now, Mr. Hoover, tell me about this truck, I said. You inherited it when your father passed away in 2013. Correct. Yes, Your Honor. My father died in March of 2013. I'm sorry for your loss. What happened after that? I became the executor of his estate, 4 siblings total. According to the will, all assets divided equally among us. And this truck was one of those assets? Yes, Your Honor. So how did you end up with it? Did you buy out your siblings' shares? Mark shifted uncomfortably. No, my siblings said I could have it, with the understanding that if I sold it, we'd divide any proceeds equally. I raised my eyebrow. That's hearsay, Mr. Hoover. And from what I see, there were no proceeds, were there? Well, not yet. Not yet or not ever, because you gave this truck away for free. No, I sold it to him for $400 a month. And there it was, the big lie. Listen, I've got children and grandchildren. I know how these stories go. Mr. Hoover, here's what really happened, I said. You inherited this truck, didn't pay for it. Your siblings said take it. Then your daughter and James needed transportation. You were tired of driving them around, so you gave him the truck, signed the title, handed the keys, done. That's not true. Mark protested. Then why haven't you given your siblings 1 penny of the money you claim he paid? Silence. Because this was a gift, there was no sale. I held it for a year trying to sell it. Then I agreed to sell it to James for $400 a month. Stop. $400 a month for a 12-year-old truck? He could lease a new car for that. Did you give your siblings anything? Not yet. Not yet means never. Mark jumped in. My daughter has text messages proving he agreed to pay. Let's see these magical text messages. The daughter rushed forward with her phone. Bird put the messages on screen. Are you working? She texted. Yep, what's up? James replied. Will you be able to give Dad some more money for the truck this weekend? Thursday? Okay. How much do you think? Then nothing. The conversation just stopped. No answer, no follow-up, just silence. Explain this, I said to the daughter. He stopped responding because he didn't have the money then. Later we met in person and he gave me $175 cash. I turned to James. What was the $175 for? James shook his head. I honestly don't know what she's talking about. When Mark offered me the truck, we never discussed money. He just gave it to me. Then after Angie and I broke up, suddenly it became about payments. And there it was, the truth. This is what happens when relationships end badly. Gifts become loans, favors become debts, and parents try to punish the ex by rewriting history. Mr. Hoover, do you have anything in writing? Any bill of sale? Any agreement from when he got the truck in January? No, I did it orally. But when I signed the title, I told him this doesn't just belong to me. It belongs to my siblings too. And yet you never shared a penny with them. The daughter tried one more time. Your Honor, if this was a gift, it would have been given to me, not him. Smart point. But it didn't matter. Listen carefully, I said, looking at all 3 of them. Here's what I believe. Mr. Hoover, you got this truck from your father's estate. Didn't pay for it. Your siblings said, fine, take it. Then when your daughter's boyfriend needed transportation and you were tired of driving them around, you gave him the truck. You signed the title, handed him the keys, and that was it. But then they broke up. Suddenly, Dad wants to be the hero. Dad wants to punish the ex-boyfriend. Dad wants to turn a gift into a debt. Maybe James gave you some money out of guilt after the breakup. But that doesn't make it a sale. You want me to believe you sold a 12-year-old truck for $400 a month? That's $4,800 a year for a truck worth $4,000? And you never put it in writing because you knew deep down this was never a real sale. The courtroom went dead silent. You could hear a pin drop. Here's my judgment, I said with absolute finality. For the title loan, James owes you $1,000. He signed for it, he pays half. That's fair, that's just, and that's final. Mark started to smile, thinking he'd won the whole case. But the truck, I shook my head firmly. The truck belongs to James. You gave it to him. It's done. That's all. Your Honor, no, Mark practically shouted. This isn't fair. My family. Sit down, my voice cracked like thunder. You just admitted it yourself. You haven't shared a single penny with your siblings because deep down you know there was no real sale. If this were legitimate, you would have been giving them their shares as payments supposedly came in. I looked at the daughter, who was crying now. Young lady, I know you're hurting. You love this boy, but your father suing your ex doesn't heal your broken heart. It just creates more unnecessary drama. Then to James, you got lucky today, kid. You keep the truck. But you owe that $1,000 for the title loan. You signed for it. You pay it. Crystal clear? Yes, Your Honor, absolutely. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000 for the title loan only. The truck claim is dismissed. We're done here. Case closed. I brought down the gavel with a sharp, decisive crack that echoed through the courtroom. As they filed out, Mark muttering, the daughter sobbing, James relieved. I reflected on what happened. Mark wasn't a bad man, just a father who couldn't let go, couldn't accept his daughter grew up, made her choices, and got her heart broken. He thought making the ex pay financially would fix it. But that's not justice. The title loan was legitimate. Black and white. Pay up. The truck was a gift wrapped in denial. I don't let people rewrite history because they're unhappy with how things ended. The lesson: when you give something money, property, trust, you can't take it back because circumstances changed. A gift is a gift. Turning it into something else afterward isn't justice. It's regret wearing a lawsuit. Mark gave James that truck, signed the title, handed the keys. No money, no contract. That's a gift. James left owing $1,000 but keeping the truck. He learned signatures matter, promises have consequences, and breakups don't erase legal obligations. But also that sometimes justice is fair. The daughter? I hope she learned her father fighting battles doesn't heal her heart. Growing up means accepting when relationships end and moving forward with dignity. Another case closed, another lesson taught. Justice isn't about making people happy. It's about examining facts, cutting through emotions, and making the fair call, even when it's not what anyone wanted to hear. The truck rolled on. The $1,000 would be paid. The relationship was over. Life continued forward. That's the truth. That's the verdict. Case closed.